Let me invite everybody to go ahead and grab a seat if you'd like to sit down. If not, you can stand. It's an elegant building. It looks fine from standing height as well as sitting height. You know, this is our 9th Marion Medallion, and we are in the pattern that we do it at high noon on award day, and so my watch tells me we're right at that point. So let me welcome all of you here to this occasion. You know, we decided a number of years ago, the Morning News and Francis Marion, that we were going to create a unique award to recognize significant achievements and accomplishments on the part of individuals across the PD region of South Carolina. And we talked at length about the various criteria that we might impose to guide us in these decisions. And the best criterion that I think we ever concluded was that when people the next morning open the paper and see who the award winners are, that they would say immediately, well, of course, that's the most natural selection in the world. And in truth, we've achieved that this year, as we have with the previous years. But give me a moment, please, and let me recognize the award winners from the previous 8 years. And please, if you're with us today, would you stand and remain standing, and then we'll recognize all of you at the end of the list. 2012, Kathy Baxley, Henry Johnson, and Hayward King. 2013, Bill and Olive Timberlake and Ralph Porter. 2014, Henry Beatty and Clyde Odom and Henry Brunson. 2015, John and Vicki Kirby, Paige Alexander, and Deanna Strickland. 2016, Carlos Washington and Manna House. 2017, Reggie Armstrong, Carl Harmon, and Courtney Graham. 2018, Billy Powers, Help for Kids. 2019, Chuck McNeil and Parking Lot Ministry. Now let's get on to the business at hand. I'll ask my colleague, Don Kostler, to come up and present the first medallion.
Thank you, Fred. I'm Don Kostler. I'm the editor at the Morning News, and this is my favorite day of the year. As Fred said, this is the 9th year that Francis Marion University and the Morning News have awarded Marion Medallions. Conceived late in 2010, the medallions were first awarded in 2012. In the beginning, the criteria for the award were deliberately quite broad-based. Eligible recipients must have contributed in a significant manner to the well-being of the citizens in one or more of the counties in the PD. The intent was to recognize unsung heroes. I don't believe it was formally specified that elected officials would not be considered for the medallion, but it was an unwritten understanding. Today, we are going to break our rules. Anyone who has a problem with that can sue us. Go ahead. We know a great attorney. The elected official whom we are recognizing today is that great attorney. He is a lame duck elected official, but he hardly has been a lame mayor for this city. The fact that he has been elected 3 times speaks for itself. The fact that he is not running for a 4th term is our reason why it is now an appropriate time to celebrate a dedicated and passionate public servant. Today, we are awarding a Marion Medallion to an extraordinary leader, Stephen J. Wakilan. His story is fairly well known. In 2008, in his first primary election for mayor, he won by 1 vote. In his third general election, he was unopposed. He is the oldest son of Steve Wakila Jr., a lawyer, and Jacqueline Wakila, an artist. He graduated from Clemson University in December 1996 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy and political science. At Clemson, he met his wife, Laura. In 2000, he graduated from the George Washington University School of Law. He returned to Florence to work at the law firm founded by his father. As a lawyer, he works on workers' compensation cases as well as general tort law. In 2004, he ran for a state Senate seat against incumbent Republican Hugh K. Leatherman Sr. Wakila, a liberal Democrat from a family of liberal Democrats, lost that race as Leatherman received more than 66% of the votes. Wakila ran for mayor 4 years later. He won the Democratic nomination by 1 vote over incumbent Frank Willis. Wakila won the general election by approximately 1,700 votes over Rocky Pierce, another former Florence mayor. Wakila said he then sought the help of friends. Seeking collaboration is a lesson that Wakila credits to FMU President Fred Carter. Wakila said Carter was one of the best coalition builders that he'd ever seen. Another lesson Wakila learned was to put aside personal differences and previous campaigns in order to better the city. He learned that lesson from Leatherman, who called Wakila shortly after he was elected mayor. In an interview earlier this year with the Morning News, Wakila said, quote, "We are a community of enormous potential and enormous accomplishment, but the only way we succeed is as one." As mayor, Wakila has been bold yet humble, as modest as he has been successful. He says he, quote, "played a small part in the remarkable revitalization of the city's downtown, several investments in recreation, and in neighborhood redevelopment." He's quick to credit others for the success of those efforts. Among those he thanks are Carter, Leatherman, Dr. Eddie Floyd of the Doctors Bruce and Lee Foundation, and Florence Mayor Pro Tem Frank J. Buddy Brand. Last October, Wakila announced that he would not seek another term as mayor. The personal and professional sacrifice of being mayor was one thing, but watching his family continue to sacrifice was something else. Wakila wants to spend the rest of his children's youth with them. He wants more time with Laura and more time at his law office. As you can read tomorrow in the Morning News, the community understands but hates to see him go. For instance, Florence City Councilwoman Pat Gibson High Moore said she felt like crying when she learned about Wakila's decision. For now, let's wipe the tears away and wish Stephen Wakila well in his return to private life. For now, let's salute a good man for a job well done, a job quite worthy of a Marion Medallion. How about a hand for Stephen Wakila? Come on up.
I've got the overwhelming sensation that I just heard a eulogy. I'm not dead yet, you know, I feel quite well. Listen, that's right, or a roast. What can I say? This is enormously humbling and gratifying. It has been said so often that it's become cliche, but the reality is, of course, that the success that we've seen in this community is not the product of anything I did. It's rather the product of this fantastic coalition and partnership that has been so successful here over the last decade. That begins with my dear friend Drew Griffin, the city manager, Dr. Fred Carter and Francis Marion University, Dr. Eddie Floyd and Haig Porter at the Bruce and Lee Foundation, my great colleagues and friends on the city council, beginning of course with the Pro Tem Buddy Brand and so many others. I have been told recently by some of my friends, only I think half in jest, that I am abandoning those friends and those partnerships. And it is with some regret that I step away from that great coalition and the success it's had. But let me say that I am confident that over the last years and in the coming months before my coming demise, we have cemented and will cement not only the bonds of those friendships and coalitions and relationships, but the benefits they've provided to this community. And so with that, I say thank you.
Like everyone else, I hate to see the mayor not run for re-election, but I'm painfully aware of the fact that every year he looks thinner and thinner. So it may be a good time to get out before you disappear, Stephen. It's my privilege to recognize the recipient of the second Marion Medallion, and I do this with great pride on behalf of our university, Francis Marion University. The second medallion, Marion Medallion winner is a graduate of our university in 1976, and his wife Dawn is a graduate of Francis Marion as well. Alan has 2 children, and Dawn have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Alan will introduce his family in just a few minutes. He attended Francis Marion during the salad years from 1971 to 1976. He was a champion basketball player, and he still holds the career record almost 50 years ago for most rebounds and is 5th in total scoring for the Patriot basketball team. He is a member of the FMU Athletic Hall of Fame, but that's not why he's receiving the medallion. He worked at Mullins Parks and Recreation during college, and he worked there after graduation until 1987 as a full-time rec director. He then became a New York Life agent from 1987 to 2009. He even coached and directed some of the rec programs during that time. Then he returned to the recreation program after retirement from NY Life, but that's not why he's receiving the medallion. He's a distinguished public servant. Currently he's on the Marion County Council, and he previously served on the school board and chaired it for a number of years. He's made Marion County a better place to live and work and be educated, but that's not why he's receiving the medallion. Alan is a family man. He's a community leader. He's a church leader. He's the type of person whom people turn to for advice, for help, for guidance, for support. But that's not why he's receiving the medallion. You see, for almost half a century, Alan has spent all or part of his days working and mentoring children and youth in his hometown. Mostly he engages them in sports and recreational activities. Over the years, that has involved not just dozens of kids, not just hundreds of kids, not just thousands of kids, but tens of thousands of kids. He says he expects a lot out of the children who participate in his programs, but he always gives them a second chance when they don't get it right the first time. I know Alan. I think a lot of those kids get 3rd and 4th and fifth chances. Floyd's colleagues and friends idolize him. But nobody idolizes Alan more than his kids. He cares about the children much more than he cares about the sports he coaches. He has the ability to see the best in every child that he works with, every single one of them. But more amazing than that, he brings out the best in those kids for everybody else to see too. You know, a while ago, in a column for the Morning News, one of my favorite basketball coaches, Gary Edwards, wrote about a trip his men's basketball team took to Mullins to conduct a basketball clinic. Gary said, Alan's basketball playing numbers were impressive, but even more impressive are the number of young people Alan Floyd has helped and nurtured through the years. Gary describes that day, and he describes how all those kids migrated towards the Pied Piper of Mullins sports, Alan Floyd. He knew almost all of those kids by name. Some of the young ones took hold of Alan's leg and gave him a hug. All were excited to see him. There were probably close to 100 youngsters in that tiny gym by the time our team got started. All colors and shapes and sizes and genders. Those young people were polite and they listened when Alan spoke. And Gary made a very poignant comment. He said, I'm sure you would like for all of us to believe that they came to see the men's basketball team at Francis Marion. But we all know they were there because Alan called them there. He works long hours opening the gym and cutting the fields and organizing the practices, and he certainly doesn't do it for the money. He does it for the kids. Every year he also helps to provide toys to about 125 children at Christmas time through money that he raises in his civic work. Alan says, we brought joy into kids' life. We got the joy. They got the presents. There are great people you meet in life, and there are great jobs you sometimes get to watch people perform. In the case of Alan Floyd, we are privileged to see a truly great man perform a vital job masterfully. And thousands of kids have been the beneficiaries of that job over the years. You know, at our age, me and Alan, many of us wake up in the middle of the night thinking back over our lives and wondering what we've accomplished. Well, Alan, when that happens to you, I want you to get out of bed, walk over, pick up this medallion, and look into Francis Marion's face. What you'll see are thousands of smiling young faces looking right back at you. Then go back to bed and have a good night's sleep. You deserve it.
Wow. I gotta take Dr. Carter out to lunch. You did a great job. At this time, I'd like to recognize my family. Dusty, my son, y'all stand up. Aaron, my daughter-in-law, Chrissy, and my wife. And I got other members out there, but I want to mention two that are not here. Two grandchildren. And I was going to tell you today about the one thing I'd like to accomplish before I finish in all my coaching and all would be to coach those two. Now, I am kind of tough. So they may not want to play for me, but I know one thing. The Lord has blessed our family with those two grandchildren, and they're the best that have ever lived. I have to share a couple of things. First of all, I heard you say something about we're not going to invite any politicians. Okay, I didn't mean to tell y'all I was in politics, okay? Sometimes you don't want to let people know that. But when Dr. Carter and Tucker Mitchell called me after the article that Coach Edwards put in the paper, and I don't know if the ones you may not have read it, but it's finest remarks. It just touched my heart. It touched my family. We thank you for those. And if you need a copy, my wife's got 20 extra. I want everybody to have that copy. But thank you for Francis Marion University and what y'all do and the Florence Morning News. Let me tell you a quick story. About 3 months ago, I was starting basketball, and one of my kids that had played for me 30 or 40 years ago has come back to Mullins, and he had retired, and he wanted to coach. And we were sitting around talking one day, and he said, Mr. Allen, he said, one of the finest memories I have is when we went to see Francis Marion play. It might have been 40 years ago. Coach Hill was the coach. That's what we do in Mullins. We try to touch lives. And, you know, so many people get in that fast pace, and they look around, and before they turn around, their children, they're 15 and 16, and then they may not want to do anything with you. In Mullins, at the Mullins Recreation Department, we've been very blessed. We start them off young. We expect them to pay attention. We don't expect them to hit people with bats and throw balls and hurt people. But we in Mullins have been very blessed that the staff, the coaches, the parents, they buy in. They really buy in. But let me tell you a quick story about Dr. Carter and Tucker I was going to tell you. Tucker called me and said, Alan, we want to go over and maybe set up some kind of partnership between Francis Marion and the Mullins Recreation Department. Hadn't heard anything about this award. I didn't even know about this award, I hate to tell you. Okay. So he calls and we set up a meeting, and they come over and we sit down and we start talking, and all of a sudden these 3 other people walk in. I'm thinking, how many people does it take to start talking about a partnership? It was the committee for this. And then they started explaining that I had been selected for this award, and I promise you, in all my history, certain things touch you, and you know exactly what happened and when it happened. And that did. And I know this will be another time that I'll look back. It won't be during the middle of the night, okay? But I will look back and say, thank the Lord for what he's done for me. I'd like to recognize a lot of the friends and the coaches that have come, and the people. When we had those invitations sent out, I said, I'm going to send it to a few people just so they won't hurt their feelings. I know they're not coming, okay? I even had some of them I called them back and said, hey, it's at 11 o'clock, not 12 o'clock, okay? And they made it today. So I want to thank y'all for taking out your busy schedule and coming over and being a part of this. It means a lot. I've heard a saying, and it goes like this. It says, when we die, the things we do for ourselves, they die with us. The things we do for others lives on. And if you think about that, all the children and the young people we touch, that young guy, I had no idea it meant so much to come see Francis Marion play. But see, in Marion County, for a long time, a lot of our children didn't cross that big PD bridge. They had not come or gone to the beach. But now, over the past, Francis Marion has played a very important role. We have their soccer teams come over. We have their baseball team, some coach in Abnett. We have the basketball team for years and years. They come over and do a clinic just for the city of Mullins. And then we try to bring them over to see a soccer match. And listen, let me tell you something. In Mullins, that was a real treat, the first soccer match we saw. Our kids didn't participate in soccer. It was basketball and football and some baseball. So thank y'all for what you do, the lives you touch. And I know the city of Mullins and Marion County are very thankful for what y'all have done for us. In closing, I'd like to say one thing. And I really believe this. I've been very blessed because the Lord's the one who put me back in recreation. I was not going back in recreation. I was going to do real estate and make money and fish. But for whatever reason, he had put me back here. And I'm so thankful because I'm the one that's been blessed. But if you want to be a blessing to somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Here's the untold story of that day. So we arrive over there, Tucker and I, and Don and Bailey are with us from the morning news. What I really wanted to do was walk into that room and say, Alan, I want you to meet Agents Smith and Jones from the Internal Revenue Service. They have questions about your last 5 returns, okay? Listen, today, I was just kidding. All right, yeah, just kidding. Thanks. I want to thank all of you for coming out today. Please hang around and come forward and congratulate our 2 recipients today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.